Today, on the Kurt Winters YouTube channel, we get a chance to drive a 1993 Nissan 300 ZX, a forgotten Japanese sports car icon.
Hello YouTube, this is Kurt, and welcome to the Kurt Winters YouTube channel, dedicated to bringing you advice on collecting cars and celebrating the history of these amazing machines. This channel is focused on helping you with your car or restoration project. So today's video will be all about, does the Nissan Z32 platform get the love, respect, and admiration that it deserves? Let's find out. So a little bit of backstory on the Nissan Z32 that we're driving right now. This is actually a convertible variant, which was only available in the naturally aspirated form. Now, there have been plenty of convertibles out there that have been modified and switched over to the twin turbo option. I've ridden in a couple of them. They are super cool. But this one is stock and in its original form. Now, let's kind of talk about the history of the Z32 platform. It came on the scene in America for the 1989 model year, and unfortunately was pretty much phased out by 1996. There were very limited production numbers made in 1996. So it's a relatively short run for a sports car, which kind of makes you wonder if that is what contributed to sort of its underappreciation. Now, let's talk about what's under the hood. The VG30 is, in my opinion, a great engine. Now, the internet will tell you otherwise. There are tons of forums and posts telling you all about how finicky and tricky the Z32, or I should say the VG30 or VG30TT motor is to work on, which I'm not going to necessarily completely disagree with him, but usually the engine gets flipped up when someone who is working on it doesn't know what they're doing. So one of the tips of my channel is never let anyone learn how to work on your Nissan 300ZX go to a specialist who works on that particular platform. I use Wireworks Performance in Fort Worth, and they are great. You can Google them. Again, that's Wireworks Performance, and just ask for Paul. So the motor is great as long as you've got the right person working on it. Now, what are some of the other reasons about why this car got so overshadowed? Well, at the time, the Japanese Nikkei was doing great, and there was an incredible economic boom going on in Japan at the time, and all of the Japanese automakers were making their quote-unquote halo cars. You had the Dodge Stealth, aka the Mitsubishi 3000 GT, which I should have called it that since I own one. You had the Supra. You had, of course, the GTR, which wasn't sold in America. So there were kind of all these other cars that were basically overshadowing the Z, which is kind of a shame. Now, another thing that a lot of Z, or I should say, another thing that definitely contributed to the Z's demise, or the Z32 platform, I should say, is going to be the GT car-like feel that this has. This is a heavy girl, and there's no denying that she could definitely shed some pounds, which would help with handling and take away from some of the sketchiness of driving this car. Now, when I say the word sketchiness, I've said in my other videos, the Z32 platform, the steering ratio is great, it handles great, but the problem is when you drive the car either beyond your limits or beyond the car's limits is when you're going to run into trouble. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we'll put the Z32 through some paces so you guys can kind of see how it handles on back roads and kind of make your decision on your own of whether or not you think it's underappreciated. Please leave a comment below if you own a Z32. I'd love to hear about it. And let's go check it out and see what this thing does on the back roads. What do you say? Okay, so we're gonna take her through some twisties here, and then I'm gonna flip the camera around so you can get another view and more of a sensation of how the car handles. I'm gonna do my best to narrate while I'm driving. It is wet out, and again, this car is a little sketchy to drive. The back end does like to come out. So let's see how this turns out, and let's go through some twisties. What do you say? All right, I know you guys don't have the ability to see the speed as I'm going into the corners. This first set of S-curves, I like to take around 25, 30, especially in the rain. So let's see how it works out, and this ought to be a blast, all right. Automatic at 4-speed, so you do have to account for that. Luckily, I've been driving this road for about 10 years, so I've got it pretty much memorized. But you'll see that through those S-curves, I didn't have to do a lot of input to get through those. So what we're going to go ahead and do next is I'll flip the camera around, and you guys can get a front row seat of what I'm seeing as we're going through the curves. So let's check it out. All right, so let's go ahead and hit those same set of S curves that we did a second ago I've got the Garmin set up so hopefully everyone can see the entry speed and the exit speed out of the corners. Now, I do want to let you know it is a little bit wet out here. It is a little sketchy, so I don't recommend driving your Z in a spirited fashion in these conditions, but this is what I do for you YouTubers. So let's go ahead and hit this same section, and you guys can kind of see how the Z handles, and I'd love to get your comments and feedback below. If you also like to take your Z out and push her to her limits or just shy of her limits, I would love to hear about that. So let's go ahead and hit these S curves and see how this turns out. I want to go ahead and apologize. This is a convertible and it shakes more than your grandma. Love you, Grandma. This corner is a bit deceiving because you want to slow down, but you can actually hit it just shy of 50. Now this one up here is the real deceptive one. Gotta look for traffic, and then I come way outside, cut that apex, back end just got out a little bit there, just like I was letting you guys know. This car is super happy, especially on the back end and if it's wet. We're also on a country road. You guys can hear the rocks kind of knocking around. So that's kind of what you're going to get with the handling in this particular type of track prep. This car is great for second and third gear pulls, even in an automatic. I'm telling you, in a straight line, it never feels sketchy. It's only when you're whipping it around those corners do you feel sketchy. All right, so now that we got those tires warmed up just a bit, let's go ahead and take this next set of S-curves and we'll see if we can push it just a little bit. Again, we don't want to risk it for the biscuit because it is wet out. Back end coming out there, not surprising. And again, we have this final real tight chicane coming up here. I think that's the word. If it's not a chicane, let me know. But it is sharp as hell. Back end should come out. Nope, hooked up that time. That concludes our last set of S-curves. So, does this car get the love, admiration, and respect that it deserves? Well, if you think so, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. And remember, go ahead and click subscribe and join that Z32 tribe so I can make more awesome videos all about this awesome platform. And again, I want to thank you for watching. I appreciate the privilege of your time. And don't forget to click that like button. I'll see you in the next video.